So, all right. So what was I trying to do with this? So I did decide I was trying to come up with sort of a combination, or I was trying to sit within the gamist and narrative, like the overlap, the Venn diagram. If you wanted to look at a Venn diagram of these things, we were going to look at an overview. Like we're looking at the intersection between kind of a gamist approach and a narrativist approach to gaming, which means I wasn't trying to do a simulationist kind of game where, you're trying to simulate, all aspects of physics. So I was trying to get away from that. So but my concern with some of these narrativist games, as much as I wanted to like them, so some of my inspiration came out that Fate seems to go in the direction that I want it to go as far as a narrativist game, but it's too loose. There are things I wanted to fix about that. And so I was like, all right, let's take narrativism and let's kind of turn, and I want to add in the gamist element. Because I also think that for me personally, the gamist element helps out for having a broader player base. Because I've got friends who don't want something that is so over. I would have more players personally if I wasn't saying here is a completely open-ended thing that's being run by the game. I have a lot of friends who like games. Now, I know it's a role-playing game, and we don't need to go into the philosophical definition of what a game is. I have that defined by John Searle. I have that. I don't think that's not the time for it. But a game, like I've got friends who will play Gloomhaven and Frosthaven, but they don't want to do an RPG. So I was trying to fix that. I want to come up with a gamist framework that is overlapping with some type of narrative, with a narrative kind of structure. And this is intended to be a generic rule system because I want to use this for all of the different worlds that I'm creating. We can create some rule books for some different systems as well. Like I think having a 5e rule book is a good one because it's so popular. I was trying to make OSR work. Like we really got into the OSR and I was trying to get OSR to work, but I was having trouble getting like OSR to fit in what I was trying to do with Rabivania. But I've got a challenge here because Rabivania is one of my worlds. That's anthropomorphic animals. But then I also have Theophany, which is the fall of Satan, which is a much more adult kind of thing. So I'm looking for something that can fit in both kinds of structures. Let's see. Is anything going on here? Oh, Sable Phoenix asks, Heath's Geekverse, have you looked at any of the Powered by the Apocalypse style games? I know that Blades in the Dark is on your list. Yes, Blades in the Dark is on the list. I know your Blades in the Dark list too. I was just thinking of inputs that would offer non-D&D style game design principles. So Blades in the Dark is on the list. Yeah. Now I have read, it's been a while, but like Powered by the Apocalypse. Let me just put Powered by the Apocalypse here, because we should look at that too. There are all kinds of games. There are more there are more games than days in the year for the morning grind. So yes, I have not looked at Blades in the Dark specifically, but we need to. But I have read Powered by the Apocalypse games before I started live streaming. Zero Theory says, I would think Rabivania would work great with many of the OSR systems out there. See, I was trying to come up with like the Knight and Fighter would, but like when I had come up with, the sample character classes or professions that I was trying to work with, because originally I thought that too. I was like, I should just do a dedicated OSR book, and I still might. Okay, Fighter, Knights and Rabivania you can handle, I think. Druids you potentially could, but then I have Witch as my sample classes. I had Knight, Druid, Witch, and Damsel of the Blood Royal. And I was trying to make all of those fit into OSR. And Knight you can do, Druid you might be able to do. I think you probably could. But then how you just differentiate that with Witch and Damsel of the Blood Royal, maybe that's something to talk about on the World Design Days. Sable Phoenix says, I really want to get a Band of Blades, a Forest in the Dark RPG that seems to play a lot like a board game. Apparently, it's a good draw for those who like board games but don't want to try RPGs. Well, I've never heard of that one. Is that one that needs to go on our list? That one does sound interesting. Yes, I do want Rabivania to be a species class system. Yes. Is the Last Phoenix says, is the Damsel a cleric type? Not exactly, because there are clerics of the religion, Mirite, Mirism. So we will get to that. So is the damsel a cleric type? The damsels are a member of a quasi-religious order that promotes chivalry, the virtues of knighthood throughout the realm. So they're not clerics of the religion. They're not ordained, right? So they're a quasi-religious type order. There are clerics, and I was going to, if you were going to just have the clerics of that religion, it makes sense for that to be cleric. But the damsel is a quasi-religious order, so I wouldn't have used cleric for that. I was trying to come up with something else. Okay, so we got to intended to be used for a wide variety of systems and genres. I want to focus on characters that are competent, dramatic, and willing to engage in adventures. That's kind of a fate thing. Like, I'm not trying to create a system here for somebody who just wants to play a wizard who stays at home. Okay, this is for competent, dramatic characters who are willing to engage in adventure. So I want this to be, now I started to put this into bullet points. So this is not phrased perfectly, but let's see if I can get some bullet points here. This is adventure focused because game time is precious. So the idea here is that game time is precious. Game time spent at the table needs to be spent adventuring and having fun. Like, how much fun can you pack into 2 to 3 hours worth of adventures? I obviously want you to be able to continue and have campaigns and have the ability for your character to change and improve. But I want to be focused on, hey, if you've got some friends over who want to run a one shot, I want you to be able to do that. Oh, and also, so this is just different bullet points. Playable quickly at all levels. Getting just thoughts out of my head here, so that if you have some friends together and you really want to play this particular campaign, or somebody's got an idea in mind for it, but it requires, let's say, higher level. I'm not going to have levels, but let's say higher level characters for shorthand here. I want you to be able to quickly create those higher level characters, so you can just play them. You don't always have to start from level 0 or level 1. I want to, and I think this may have been what you were talking about, DJ Advin. I created Mathplot Python phone programs for calculations. Can I contact you? Yeah, you can contact me through Discord. That's fine. Today is going to be a very busy day, but yeah, you can contact me through Discord. What you were talking about, I want to minimize, because when I say minimize the roll of luck, there are always some morons in the YouTube comment section. Imagine that, morons in YouTube comment sections. We have to deal with those people. But when I talked about that in other videos about all of the dice, somebody's always like, well, if you can play a diceless game if you don't like luck. My point is, I want to minimize but not eliminate the role of luck, because I want the players to win. The characters succeed or fail because of the decisions they make. To me, that's important, and not the vagaries. That's the right word in this context, right? And not, but we'll say whim at the moment, and not the whim of a random element, and not, mainly the whim of a random element. So that's what I'm trying to get away with. Well, some games are certainly very random, but if you play the game correctly, then I want you to win. And win, I'm talking about defeat the bad guy, overcome the obstacle, whatever. I don't want you to not be able to do that because you happen to roll very poorly, right? So the character's decisions need to be a big deal here. And actually, that's why very soon in this context, we're going to be taking a look at the Amber role-playing game, because Amber is diceless. Now, that's further than I want to go, but I do want to study the Amber RPG because it is diceless. And diceless, there's no random elements, not cards either. We'll talk about cards in just a moment. So look for very soon on this, because I'm working through this item right here. We need to look at Amber. Maybe this is easier to read if I go up a little bit. So I do want to look at that. So what if we look at some things that are extremely random. Like, I would say most D20 systems can be extremely random. But then what if we go to the absolute opposite and look at something that eliminates it, and then how do we minimize it? So session-centric, that kind of goes with adventure-focused. Get in, get adventuring, and then get out. How much of what matters can you pack into a play session? I want it to be, I use this idea, designed for online play. And then I used this phraseology before the OGL system and debacle, and people were talking about that online Dungeons and Dragons going to online play, meaning virtual tabletop and microtransactions and all that. But that's not what I meant by that phrase. When I was thinking designed with online play in mind, I was thinking that many people play by a video call and stuff like that, and that you wouldn't need some type of sophisticated digital virtual tabletop system to do that. Like, most of the video call systems have things like digital whiteboards, and you can use those. I played a index card RPG online game. An index card RPG does have its own, I guess they call it a virtual tabletop. But I was really impressed with that. It was very lightweight, and it did everything that we needed to do, and I was impressed by that. So that's what I was talking about with it. If you intend online play, you might want to consider looking at Roll20 and their API set up to make custom sets. That would be way down the road. Van Davis says, I've also been wondering if you could just have people make characters with Hero Quest stats and just run a D&D module with the Hero Quest dice. Yes, the vagary. That's what I thought the phraseology would be. See, I think that needs to be more like the board game. I would like to revisit Hero Quest for just the board game version later.